How's it going, everyone? This is your astrology horoscope for the weekend of January 6th and January 7th, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moon Base. Hope you guys had a great first week of 2024. It's definitely shaped up to be what we felt it would be, for sure. And I think what we all were feeling coming into this year, especially after the past 3 to 4 years and how crazy shit has been, it's like we all have felt and known that 2024 is going to be a very impactful historical year and one for the books. And if we look throughout history and we watch Pluto Capricorn transition into Aquarius, it's those moments where the outer realms of that's beyond our human selves, the higher realms of the earth that really set the limitations and the boundaries of how we function as a civilization and a society. Every time Pluto reaches this 29 degree of Capricorn, if you go back and look, every 250, 60 years, it's like these are the most intense, powerful transitions in history. So 2024 is one of those years. So we've all felt that was going to be, and the astrology is showing us that. And definitely this week, a lot of things have come out. A lot of things have bubbled up to the surface here within ourselves and within the outer realms of the world that are beyond us. And things that we know have been there, deep rooted in our subconscious. And definitely with this transition to this new frequency with Pluto and Aquarius, it's like we have to face this stuff. We have to get down to the root and get to the bottom of what this Pluto, Moon in Scorpio this weekend, we had to get to the bottom of this. So there's a lot of emotions here on Saturday that's coming up, and it's very intense. And Saturday morning, the moon and the sun are going to be sextiling one another. So this is a very healthy support system. Capricorn is the structure, it is the system, and with this moon in Scorpio, it's about these deep emotions. And, I think with the sextile here between the sun and the moon, it's like there is a deep emotional support system as these things that we haven't faced in a long time and we've had buried for a long time start to bubble up within ourselves and outside of ourselves. It's like it's very uncomfortable. This transition is very uncomfortable. Evolution is not pretty. Growth is not easy. So with the sun and the moon, giving us this healthy support, emotional support system, but also a very stern emotional support system, right? So the sun in Capricorn, being ruled by Saturn, Capricorn being the ruling planet, or Saturn being the ruling planet of Capricorn, it's like it's laying down the foundation in a very stern way, because with this moon in Scorpio, it's easy to let the emotions fly off the handle and just get so intense and get overboard, but with all this Capricorn energy, Mars and Capricorn, the sun, it's like it's helping us ground it and actually analyze it and focus and know how to build and know how to evolve with our purpose and with our destiny. Capricorn rules our destiny and our purpose. That comes from a higher place. And at the same time that this is happening, the sun's going to be making a square over to Chiron. And so I think a lot of what these unconscious uncoverings can be from is, where we've been wounded, where our identities have been wounded. And I think a lot of the things that have been going on in the outer world have maybe not hit us on the surface. They've hit us in a subconscious, unconscious place that we haven't been aware of. We haven't been fully able to see yet. And that's how the unconscious tends to work, the shadow, our own shadow, facing our own shadow. That's what, tapping into our spirituality is all about, is tapping into the awareness of our unconscious, which is our shadow. It's not sitting there just, in a fantasy in Neptune La La Land, with Mercury squaring over to Neptune, here over the next couple days still. It's like we are in very Scorpio, Pluto, Mars moment right now. Like we are facing our shadow. And we have to really get to that. And if, you're really getting caught up in this Mercury-Neptune square here, it's going to lead you down very strange paths that are going to take you to places that you didn't expect. So, with the moon and sun supporting each other here on Saturday with the square over to Chiron, it's like we're getting to the bottom of where we've been wounded and what we need to heal and to allow this healing to come through. Chiron and the North Node are getting closer and closer and closer. And I think that's what this first quarter of this year is all about, karmically. It's really tapping into this healing that is coming through. And this healing doesn't require a smoothie or a latte or, your yoga mat. This requires real, intense, deep, objective analysis to yourself. And when we're talking about Scorpio, it is about the exchange with others, right? An exchange of value, an emotional value, an exchange of emotional value, and what that is being able to reflect and have these conversations about these deep, intense things and how you feel about yourself and what you're finding out about yourself. Because this is definitely a weekend where we are finding new things out about ourselves, and it's going to keep coming up here until we get to Monday. Because by the time we get to Sunday, it's like this is where it starts to culminate here, is when the moon sextiles over to Pluto. So this relates to what we experienced on Saturday of this moon sextiling to the sun. It's like, well, we're getting the sextile over to Pluto, and it's like this is like the detective. This is when the detective finds the clue that it's been looking for the whole time. So this is like we're getting so many clues and we're finding so many clues. Like this is an aha moment, right? And the moon's going to be trining over to Neptune as well. So it is like we're getting these spiritual aha moments. And the moon and Neptune, which I would say Neptune is the higher octave of the moon, or the higher octave of Venus, which there is this relationship to the moon, to Venus, to Neptune, and this, all the water signs. And now we have Mars and Pluto involved. So it's like, this is a very emotional time. This weekend is very emotional. And I think it's very healthy. There's a lot of healing occurring here. And definitely from Saturday and the challenges that we faced on Saturday, it's like this is when we get these aha clue moments. And Saturday, things may have not have been totally clear. Especially with this Capricorn energy, it's like you get into such deep states of wanting to control things and wanting to control situations and control scenarios. It's like the moon and Neptune and the sextile from the moon to Pluto, with Pluto dispositing the moon. It's like, we've dug so deep on this first week of 2024. We've gone so fucking deep. Like this is as deep as it's going to get all year, because once we get into spring, like this is when, things, we're on the surface and we're, we build to that. When we're going through Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, which is the last quarter of the zodiac, it is this, we're in the outer realms. Like it's like the rocket ship leaving Earth. By the time like the rocket ship is actually on the platform to take off, like that's Sagittarius. When the rocket's taking off, that's Capricorn. Right? And that's by the time the rocket hits the atmosphere, we're in Aquarius. And by the time the rocket's beyond the atmosphere and just on its way to wherever it doesn't know where it's going, into deep space, like that's Pisces, into realms beyond this earth. Like that is the last 4 signs of the zodiac. So this weekend, we're getting a heavy dose of that. Things aren't necessarily as grounded as they want to be yet. And, as Mars keeps moving through Capricorn, things will ground a lot more. But, Mercury also coming into Capricorn and getting off that square to Neptune, like we're all going to be very glad. Mercury's moved 2 degrees finally after its retrograde. And it won't be out of shadow until it hits 8 degrees of Capricorn. So I think something to that I think we want to really kind of talk about is this very, very, very powerful Venus Antares conjunction. Antares, the fixed star, is always associated with really implementing a very strategic plan, right? So Venus hasn't had a lot of help here in the zodiac. Like it's kind of off on its own, doing its own thing. But I think today Venus is kind of getting some power of like we have a plan we want to execute, and a big journey that we want to move forward on, especially when it comes to creative projects, things associated with, things that are very physical and fast and intense and, bigger minded things, maybe associated to more spiritual things associated with teaching and writing, and sharing deep spiritual knowledge. Like, it's having a plan on how to share knowledge, retain knowledge, acquire more knowledge, because this has been such a long, intense journey. Like through Sagittarius season, it was just so messy. Things got really sloppy. Pisces and Saturn and Pisces have gotten really sloppy here. So this is a moment where it's like we can really put a plan together with Venus conjunct with Antares. It's like we want to have a plan, put a plan together, and see the bigger picture. It doesn't necessarily have to be physical yet, because things are becoming more physical as Venus and Mercury get into Capricorn. It's like these plans and this idea from a higher place, from a spiritual place, that will become more physical and more real. And this is a moment where that power is coming through. Like these fixed stars, like when planets come into contact with these fixed stars, it's very, very powerful. And this is a very powerful conjunction. So Venus is finally getting some power today. But at the same time, it's like we'll just zoom out even further. It's like we've seen so many wild kind of things happen this first week, and Taurus is associated with assassinations, right? There's a big assassination that happened here over in the Middle East. It's like, well, it's no surprise, because if you really follow these Antares transits, whether it's Mars on Antares or Sun conjunct Antares, it's always around December 8th. I can name multiple assassinations or wild things that happened around that first week of December. I mean, you can look at Pearl Harbor, you can look at the John Lennon assassination, you can look at the assassination of Dimebag Darrell, who's the guitar player of Pantera. I mean, the list goes on. So many crazy things. There was something wild that happened this past December. I forgot what it was. But, I mean, if you follow that transit when the Sun or Mars or Mercury conjunct with Antares, like there's some crazy wild things. And, like, they're not random. Antares is all about having a very elaborate plan to execute on a big level. It's Sagittarius. It's a very big level, and actually Antares is in the constellation of Scorpio, but this is Western astrology. So we're basing this off the seasons here. So it could get very intense, and it's very big, and it's all about having a plan here. So having a creative plan, that is connected to your spirituality, that's connected to your bigger vision. When it comes to your creative projects, your partnerships, your finances, money, all these things, it's like we want to have a big plan. We want to set the big plan because, going through this Capricorn season, it's like this is when the plan starts to lay the concrete. the concrete is being poured here. So with Mars and Capricorn, it's like we're actively pouring the concrete and making things solid. So this weekend, things are very emotional. Things are very intense. And setting a big plan for the future. Sorry, I accidentally muted my mic. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's like when we're in Capricorn, there's so many things that happen outside of us that are beyond our control that we always have to be aware of taking our own journey and climbing our own mountain. You know, I think a good meditation is seeing a mountain in your mind, seeing your own mountain. We all have our own mountain to climb and to focus on that mountain. And we see the top. And when we see the top, and when we get to the top, then we can have a vision over, you know, the bigger picture that like we wouldn't have that perspective if we've never gotten there, you know? So when you're at the top and you get to the top and you reach the top of your goals, now you can see, oh, okay. You know, I was stuck there and I was only stuck because I put the limits on my own self. I told myself I couldn't do it, or it was too hard, it was too difficult. And that's what Capricorn is all about, is taking on those difficult things. Like if you say it's too hard, it's probably something that you should do. You know, oh, that's too difficult. Oh, it's too much work. It's like, that's not how Capricorn rewards. That's not how Saturn rewards. Saturn rewards when you're willing to face the difficult things you need to overcome, or difficult plans to execute to bring in a larger, more successful physical reality. When Mars trines Jupiter, we're going to have some extreme manifestation power. So as we're facing these deep emotions here this weekend, we really want to get to the root and get to the truth and face our shadows in a very healthy way, so we're not putting limits on our manifestation capabilities. Because that's what breaking free from the matrix is all about, is really harnessing our power of manifestation. Because we are human beings. We are souls in a body having a human experience. We're not humans having a spiritual experience. Maybe we are. What do I know? I mean, Mercury's in Sag, so we all have our own different views, and I'm not going to say what's right or wrong here. So let me try to keep that objectivity open here. But to me, what I've always felt is that like I am in this body having a physical experience. So that's the gift of being here on this earth, is harnessing that creative power. We're all creators in whatever way. Being a creator doesn't necessarily mean the programming of what the Matrix makes out creators to be, whether like celebrities or MTV or Instagram influencers, yada, yada, yada. It's like we all have the creative potential, and that creative potential gets suppressed by what we call the matrix. And what that is the systems that we have to go through from birth. Whether we start out by coming through the medical system, and then we go into the school system, and then we have this pressure and this expectation to go to university, and then go into debt, and then the financial system, and then we get caught up in that in our 20, you know, it's like that whole thing. It's like to really like have freedom within that and have true freedom is to understand the potential of our own creative power and our manifesting capability. And that's only activated when you face your shadow, not your latte and your fucking crystals, you know, which are all great. Trust me. I like my lattes. I like my crystals, but that ain't the doorway to facing the shadow. And I really think that as we go into this Pluto and Aquarius, this transition, this new frequency coming in here, like this is the moment. And like I said at the beginning of this video, it's like these are the moments throughout history when the collective faces its shadow in the most intense ways. You know, whether it's revolutions, Because that's what Aquarius is all about, is revolutions, whether it's an internal revolution, a technological revolution, a scientific revolution, a spiritual revolution, a human revolution. Like, we're going into massive revolutions here. And with Pluto and Capricorn, it's all about facing that deep, deep, deep shadow, you know? And as much as we think we have control, it's the connection to the divine which allows us to harness the control of our physical reality, because we can't control the divine, but we do have the power to make choices and decisions that can allow us to fulfill our purpose and our destiny that comes from a higher place, when we're willing to face our shadow, which is very uncomfortable. And that's kind of, in the spiritual world, I think more and more that conversation is being had, which is great. But definitely with this Neptune and Pisces transit, and if you really look back to 2011 and 2012, when Neptune went into Pisces, and there's this massive spiritual frequency shift, like all of a sudden it was like people were becoming more spiritually conscious, health conscious. Music totally changed, which I think is associated with this kind of Neptune and Pisces thing. Words became less prominent in music. It was more about an emotion and a feeling and a vibration. And spirituality kind of has two realms right now. And I think one is a shadow cast by the dark, which is the deception of spirituality, which is just this identity. Like, my identity is my spirituality. The clothes I wear, the things I do throughout my day, what I post on the internet, this and that. It's like, that's fine. I'm not going to judge anybody for that. But at the same time, it's like, it's doing the real deep emotional shadow work, and that expression of what comes through when we actually face that, and that healing, when we get to know ourselves in a whole new way, when we break the programming, that's when the true natural expression of what our soul comes through in all of these things, and what we associate with, what we identify with, and how we want to express ourselves creatively, and how we express ourselves in any shape or form. Music, art, fashion, and that's what this Chiron in Aries has been all about. So as we get towards the North Node, as Chiron gets more towards the North Node, it's like, it's like a big identity crisis, and it's a karmic play out. So I think to really be on the good side of things is to really face the deep shit, and not be afraid to go there. And I think that's what real spiritual work has been all about throughout history. But with this Neptune and Pisces transit, it's like the illusion gets casted as on the surface as this is what it looks like, But when you get down to what these spiritual outlets have been throughout history, it's like it has nothing to do with any of the stuff that our screens make it out to be, right? So anyway, I just went off there. So I hope you guys have a great weekend, and like this video, comment below, ask questions. I can answer questions in the next video. Find me on Instagram. Find me on the TikTok if you like to go there. These horoscopes are now posted on Spotify. So if you rather get your content on Spotify, which I prefer to do so because I love music, so I'm always listening to music on Spotify, and podcasts on Spotify as well, so these will now be up on Spotify. And I have a lot of amazing work with other awesome creators that are in the works right now that over the next month or two are going to be coming out. and I'm super excited about. Also, once again, I will plug the 2024 overview video that me and the wonderful Natalie Sadie did a few weeks back. It is posted on her YouTube page. So I'm going to post that link below as well. So feel free to reach out to me if you want to book a reading. The link is in the description below. And yeah, here we go. I'll see you guys on Monday. Peace out.